Blessfm radio, playing good tune.
Stretch them neck across the fences just to see where the Rasta man come. Them just stretch them neck across the fences just to see where the Rasta man come. You've got to be clean inside. You've got to be united just to see where the Rasta man come. You have got to have charity and love within your heart just to see where the Rasta man come.
Yes, Ras McKoy here with you again on the Know Thyself Show. Bless Radio. 92.9
just to see where the Rasta man come. Aye. Jah is powerful. Jah is terrible. He said he shall come in a new name which shall sound terrible and dreadful among man. And his name is Jah Rastafari, who lick all lightning and shook, shake and tremble all earth. You got to have a stretch out arm to receive when you're strange, brother. Just to see when the Rasta man come. The thing can't be too small to share among your brother. Just to see when the Rasta man come. I would even be a footmat in Mount Zion and lay down. Just to see when the Rasta man come. I will beat my drum and I will sit on the sun of the listening tour of Jamaica.
Yeah, culture. Rastaman come. Yes, now we're going to be our next one now called Bread Basket from Barry Jed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat. I see my brothers fighting somebody else's war. I see my sisters struggling with no milk on their breast. Them are busting confusion. They're taking our minds, yeah. While the riches of our mother is being ripped from out the land. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Them burn, them loot, them plunder, and take without consent to build their banks and their cities while we fill their prison cells. I hear my ancestors calling from the bottom of the ships, and the spirit of Marcus say rise up, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world, and everyone I eat basket of the world. And everyone I eat out I eat, except for me, oh, except for me. Oh, 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 oh. Them burn, them loot, them plunder, and take without consent to build the banks and the cities while we feel the prison cells. Yeah, I hear my ancestors calling from the bottom of the ships. And the spirit of Marcus say, rise up, yeah. Africa, the basket of the world. And everyone I eat out I eat, yeah.
Yes, Africa the basket of the world, and everyone I eat out I eat, you know. Yes, we have some, I guess, calling from Jamaica, called Prophet Greg. Yeah, so we are going to get him on the line now. Yeah, so Prophet Greg.
Yes, beloved, blessed love and greetings,
right.
you know.
Yes,
yeah, man.
right.
Thanks for the Blessradio in the morning, you know, in Jamaica, coming in from in the morning in Jamaica. So I'll just bless up all listeners and Blessradio, you know.
Yes,
it's in the afternoon your time. So give thanks, beloved. Just greet everyone in the name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari. Greetings.
Yes, sir. So, we know we try link up Prophet Jabito, but him having some technical problems. So, we just have to go and reason with the IC and where, yeah? So, what would I like to know?
Yes, sir.
We want to discuss the reparation and repatriation issue that you've been playing a role in. So tell us about yourself a little bit and the role that you play in the organization you belong to, and the role that you play in the whole.
All right. Give thanks, Ras McKoy. Yes, as I said, my name is Prophet Greg. The organization that we currently representing as the General Secretary is the Ethiopia Africa Diaspora Union Millennium Council, which was formed in 2007. Coming out of the Rastafari Global Reason in 2003 that had to formulate itself into a secretariat. And unfortunately, the previous entity, the RCO, which is the Rastafari Centralizing Organization, became defunct. So in 2007, that entity came together, mandated by some mansions, them signed on to continue the program where representation of the Rastafari community rights, and even extended to the African groups who were voiceless in this process to continue the really agitation. So on a matter of repatriation and reparation, as the I rightful say, that global reasoning in 2003, the mansions, them an entity from the Rastafari organization had submitted documentation, so to have a final document to represent the Rastafari community. This actually became necessary because the United Nations World Conference Against Racism in 2001 had mandated 168 nations to do a follow-up on reparation, and they had a program, a remedy. Paragraph 158 in that program had outlined the remedies in how the claimants, them who suffered from colonialism and imperialism, from slavery at that time, had an opportunity to present their case in the United Nations as claimants. One of the delegates who went to that conference in 2001, her name is Barbara Blake Hannah, Makeda Rastafari. She actually came forward from that and formulated a Jamaica reparation movement organ to carry through that mandate. However, that organ became defunct and was replaced by a National Commission on Reparation in, I believe, 2007-2009. Formally, and the previous entity, that is the reparation movement entity formulated, I had joined myself to that, but representing the Rastafari community voice. Hence the reason why 2003 now coming out of that Durban Declaration, it came on the agenda for Rastafari to formulate a document in addressing the issue of repatriation and reparation. So in a nutshell, that is how everything came together and how I became involved now, strictly into this repatriation and reparation settings now, which came into the council when the council formulated itself in 2007. I am actually the current spokesperson on repatriation and reparation inside the council, and the council in 2009 had formulated a document now and brought those documents together that came out of 2003 Global Rastafari Global Reasoning, and we name it the Rastafari Nation Fundamental Rights for Repatriation and Reparation. So beloved, that is basically it in a nutshell. That document which I just mentioned, the Rastafari Nation Fundamental Rights of Repatriation and Reparation, has been presented to CARICOM recently at the first CARICOM Conference on Reparation in St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, under the leadership of CARICOM that time by Prime Minister Ras McKoy, and we also presented that document at the march in the first historic March Emancipation Day march in England in 2014, August 1st. Yes, based on the mandate that was given the council, Ethiopia Diaspora Union Millennium Council, that was formed in 2007, I believe, with a more saying in July, around about that, and then formally registered in November 21st, 2007. So out of that collective, I think it was 13 groups of Rastafari coming together around about that time. The only thing, the Congress, the major Congress, 12 tribe of Israel, Nayabingi House, the only thing is Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, properly known as the Bobo Shanti. They had an observer status going forward. However, they had submitted documentation in 2003 where repatriation and reparation is concerned, a 4-point agenda and a 17-page petition to the OAU. That is what was submitted. So, yeah man, we were mandated as a group, as a council now, to bring together all these documentation now to represent the community from that time.
Yes, all right, now. That fine with Rasta. What about the rest of black people in Jamaica and African people in Jamaica and in the CARICOM region? Or are they represented at these conferences?
Well, this is the thing now, beloved. When we attended the conference, the first CARICOM Reparation Conference in 2013, that invitation was extended to all Afrocentric groups that has the interest towards Africa reparation. So the onus was on really their representative, because that is where now the Durban conference in 2001 that had offered the representation and rights for NGO, non-government organizations now to rise up and put a voice for themselves. But because Ayman had been focusing on the Rastafari Nation coming from even 2002 to this current time, what we had done now is to link into other entities who really want to join themselves to the movement. So at times we might have meetings with the UNIA, but to become specific, to know what the UNIA them presenting in them own representation, we couldn't really speak to that if they had submitted documentation for repatriation. So what I can only speak to is what both the council and the Congress submission, because the Congress also submitted those documentation that they presented in 2003 also at the March, Emancipation March, August 1st in England 2014 as well.
Okay.
So that we will work with all the voices of the people them who are willing to seek this justice of repatriation and reparation. But because the mandate of Rastafari deals with repatriation, our collective energy is towards those who are working towards repatriation. As a matter of fact, in 2011, we were invited by the Congress on the first historic coming together of Rastafari during the August 1st March in 2011, because even the March, Emancipation Day March in England that took place 2014, if one's know that history, a short history, it was led off by the Congress with the so it was a real Congress initiative. Jabi could have speak more on that, hopefully he could come on and talk, but that was also a decision made because August 1st is always a march being done in Jamaica, I believe from 1980, where emancipation and the rights for return is concerned. So that was a great historic event in 2011 now. So we are open to ones and ones who are willing and able to deal with the subject matter of repatriation, because in Jamaica, because of this mandate, Jamaica signed it on as one of the signatures to the Durban Declaration, 168 nations. So they have now opened a program, a committee set up, as I was saying, I think it confirmed in 2009. So the matter of reparation and repatriation is on the table. However, they have said and took on themselves after CARICOM in 2015, Jamaica took a political vote on the subject matter in 2015, January 27 in Parliament. So all of the both politicians, the parties then came together and took a political decision on the matter and declared that Africans in Jamaica who desire to return to Africa are entitled to do so, and only Jamaicans of African descent are entitled to reparation. So it's the onus now is for all groups who desire now to rise up and deal with the justice to come forward. Yes, beloved.
Yes, I. So how far the I them reach in terms of, because I was talking to the I previously, and the I said that the I really waiting on this document and for some while now, and it appears that this document is important. So, and that if you can't get that document, some other steps have to be taken. Could you elaborate upon that?
All right. The sound kind of breaking up, beloved, but I will try to answer based on what you were questioning, how far we reach.
Yeah.
They are hearing Iman still, Ras McKoy?
Yeah, man, I hear the eye clear, yeah.
All right. So let us move now to where the heads of state has the responsibility, because that is where the UN representation really affixed itself based on the Durban Declaration and the program of action that was required. Out of that conference in 2013, what formulated itself, CARICOM now, a 10-point agenda was set up because of the claimant's submission, which is I and I, the people, towards the justice of repatriation and reparation. So I can just quickly name the 10 points that came out of that conference. The first point was a full formal apology from the European countries that involved in slavery. The second is repatriation, which basically is the rights of return to Africa. The third is indigenous people cultural rights. The fourth is cultural institutions. The fifth is public health crisis. The sixth is illiteracy eradication. The seventh is African knowledge program. 8, psychological rehabilitation. 9, technology transfer. and the final one is debt cancellation. So these are the 10 points that came out of the deliberations that was done from the first CARICOM conference in 2013. The second conference that took place in Antigua and Barbuda, because that prime minister had now the remit to head CARICOM in representing the CARICOM head. Gonzalez gave way to that prime minister. So he continued the program into his in his representation of CARICOM by hosting that conference, CARICOM conference preparation, the second one, to address the 10-point agenda, which would have presented itself with the formal, report, and what the action in is, what the heads of state will be looking into in addressing the agenda. However, the unfortunate thing is this: one, there was never a third conference follow-up from that second conference coming in 2014, and two, we have yet, all claimants them have yet to get the official report coming out of Antigua and Barbuda in regards to the 10-point agenda. So myself had been writing the secretary, which is Dr. Hilary Brown, in regards to that report. I've been writing them from 2014, 2015. It was fortunate that there was a research center now in developed for reparation that that launched itself in Jamaica. I think it was in 2017, last year, because Dr. Hilary Bickles, who is the chairman for reparation, is now a vice chancellor at the University of West Indies, Mona. So both himself and Professor Berrien Shepherd launched a research center, reparation research center, last year. And I had the opportunity to address again the issue about the 10-point agenda because Dr. Hilary Brown attended that sitting. So I asked the question again publicly, where is that report? In which she replied that she will be formulating and sending it to us, which is the our stakeholder. Included in that conference was Dr. Julius Garvey, who himself wanted to know. Everybody wants to know where is the document, because she went as far to say, if we wanted, to our disbelief. And I believe it is good to mention, say, representative from England who was at the march, August 1st, sister who is a lawyer, Esther Stanford. She was there as well, attending that opening of the reparation center. So in the last bit of the things now, she actually responded to my email, said she would have sent the report to me. However, another subsequent email came to us, and she said there were some errors in the report which she had to adjust. So as soon as she correct them, she would be sending it to us. So beloved, that is where it is now. We have not gotten the report as yet, but subsequent to that, we had a Rastafari month activism that we are really championing in Jamaica here, and we had Professor Berrien Shepherd as one of our guest speaker, and she is also now still the co-chair of the National Commission on Reparation. She is she was appointed again by this government because the JLP is now in power in Jamaica now. So, and then she said she will be pursuing the matter strongly, because she mentioned that both at the CARICOM, the reparation center opening last year, as well as this year's function that we had a forum. Yeah. So beloved, it comes down to pressure point. We might have to go public with it and really demand what is necessary, because if we go into these forums and then promise and don't set it, but it is a crucial document because it comes from the heads of states. Yeah. Where our rights are, but they have to represent our rights of heads of state. But what we can do, and obviously we don't have all where you're talking from 2014 to now, so we don't have a long time. But what we want now is to have these formal reports drafted up by the claimants now, even us as the council, we can draft an official report now to another government. For instance, we had identified Ghana as the other government outside of the Caribbean, and who was also a part of the British Empire, the Commonwealth country. So we can even ask the government of Ghana to represent our cause, since it seemingly we have all the evidence to show now that these people in CARICOM are drawing them foot and are lacking in representing our rights. The only thing that came on board now that gives us another look in is the fact that Jamaica took a political vote in 2015 on the subject matter of reparation. So we are also looking at Jamaica as this state now to see what they would be formulated on behalf of the people who desire to return as repatriation. So this is where we're at right now, beloved.
Prophet Greg, I want you hold it there for a minute because I have some announcement to make. But what I want you do for me in the meantime, you see? I want you try link up Prophet Jabi so him can join you. So if you can add him to your Skype so we can have a 3-way dialogue going on, that would be lovely.
Alright,
yeah?
Will do.
Alright then, bless up. Yes, a few and couple announcements here today again. Yes, if you want any computer fix, you want to purchase any computer, fix it, or internet, you want to use internet, you have Sam at PC Corner provide these services for you at 6B Cazenove Road, Stoke Newington, N16 6BD. You can contact Sam on 07904 589 575. I repeat, 07904 589 575. Also, if you want some good vegan food, you can find it at the All Nation Vegan House at 8 Sanjanam Road, E8 2LP, right in front of the Argos store. And the owner Atrika serves some lovely dishes there, she and her staff. And you can contact them on 0207 254 0023. Also, we have a center controlled by some black people, the Pan-African Congress Movement, the Mama Art Center at 366A I Road, Tottenham, N17 9HTA. So they host various events and them rent out the place, and them looking for people to give lectures and so on, and to rent the place. Also every Sunday them have lectures or them show films, and them have a round circle meeting where everyone get to put them idea towards a particular subject. So that normally take place between 4 and 7 p.m. on a Sunday. Yes. Also, if you like this program, please tell your friends, your family, or colleagues about it. Yeah, and yeah, show them some enthusiasm if you like it, you know. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ras McKoy, and to Blessradio 1 YouTube channel. Yeah, so that Blessradio 1, that's the channel, YouTube channel. You can also purchase my album, Earth Running's Intrinsic Motion, on Amazon. You can get it on iTunes, Spotify, and most of the digital download sites. Yeah, so we're going to touch some music for you now. This one is from Buju Banton.
We chose good. Why raise the time of the Most High, ye sons of men?
This one called Destiny, you know.
Rich man's wealth is in the city, yeah. Destruction of the poor is his poverty, Lord. Destruction of your soul is vanity, yeah, yeah. Do you hear? I wanna rule my destiny, yeah. I wanna rule my destiny. Whoa, destiny. Mama, look from when you call me. Destiny. Mama, look from when you call it. I wanna rule my destiny. Yeah, yeah. Oh, help I please. Jah make me rule my destiny. Oh, Lord, I've been blessed, I've been touched. I love Jah so much, they keep fighting me. I'm not giving up. May the realms of Zion fill my spiritual cup. Wisdom overstanding must never be too much. Give I protection day and night from even the pestilence that walk at a daylight. Destiny, Mama, look from when you're calling. Destiny, Mama, look from when you calling. I wanna rule my destiny, yeah. Oh, if I please, Jah make me rule my destiny. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Cast away their cards most, Lord. You have them in the region, in the valley of decision, restraining the Edens with a rod of iron. You know not the destiny of a next man, why hold him? Set him free for too long. I wanna rule my destiny. Oh yeah, I really wanna rule my destiny. Hear me call, call, call. Destiny.
Yes, this is the Know Thyself show with Ras McKoy.
Mama, look from when you call it. I wanna rule my destiny. Oh, hey, help I please. I wanna rule my destiny.
Yes, we've been talking to Prophet Greg, you know, about the repatriation and the reparation from the diaspora, because, you know, we want to go back to Africa. Yes, we want to go back to Africa. And we want a compensation. Yeah, we want a compensation. And Prophet Greg was outlining some 10-point plan that he put down. Very interesting. So, Prophet Greg, you still there?
Yeah, man, I'm on there.
Yeah.
I'm on there, beloved.
You managed to link up, when I say.
Yeah, well, the honorable Prophet Jabi on the line now. I don't know if him can block a sound and hear, but him have to apologize because he really have some serious technical problem. Yeah. Jabi, you can block a sound and see if you can go through.
Yeah, man. So, blessed love. Bless the Ras McKoy. You know, give thanks to life, give thanks to
yeah, it sound very weak. It sound very weak. Yeah, we have to go try link up back that again. Yeah. So, I just play a tune. Let me see if ask him for
yeah, try call him on the WhatsApp.
And I try link him up direct, yeah?
Alright, beloved.
Yeah, bless.
Him say more try link you up direct because it's very low.
Say with you, the goodness of your works will carry you through. Do good unto others, and I will do the same for you. what I'm saying is true. Love is the answer. There ain't no other. Oh, love is the answer.
You can hear right.
Yeah, man, I'm on here in the eye, beloved.
Prophet Jabi can hear right.
In can't hear them very good. That is the problem.
That's why
We can't work with them, apologize. So we just have to probably continue in case.
Yeah, alright, we could do that, yeah? So,
Yeah, man.
So we want to like a synopsis on what you just do a while ago, so the people
Let's hello.
yeah?
Beloved, you're joining in.
Alright. You can hear me good?
How is the Jabi? Honorable.
Let's say.
No, him not come true. So we just want a synopsis from you and what you just said a while ago. Just wrap it up like where you're there at the moment and what you would have liked to achieve overall.
Alright.
Yeah?
Okay. As I said, we have the paper trail of what we were doing from 2014 in regards to the demands for report. So we have that on our levels where we can make an official complaint. However, what we're going to be doing this year now, Pinnacle celebration is coming up in next weekend, right? Pinnacle's like of it. So we're going to bring a position to the community that we are going to approach the government now to finalize now what is their position in representing an outline for repatriation, because that documentation that we had done for the Rastafari and Africans who desire to return was submitted in 2013 to the national program. So in this current commission, we are going to have a meeting with them and discuss the matter of repatriation to see what they have outlined towards who is going to represent that, and knowing say we already submit documentation where that is concerned. So if that is not what you call it now sufficient to the community where the government took a political vote, then we are going to go forward and put a petition to Ghana to see if they can represent us in the matter of repatriation, because we are claiming the rights of return as Rastafari sons and daughters. Ghana is very significant because Ghana in 2007 has taken, as passed a law rather, call it the rights of return and indefinite stay law. They have also re-emphasized and repositioned that law in the AU at the Global Africa Diaspora Summit that the AU rise in 2012 in South Africa. So that is why we are targeting Ghana in case the Caribbean has now found themselves shortcoming in representing our rights. So Ghana is another state both in the Commonwealth as well as in the United Nations. So that is why we're strategically using Ghana, and who is also a part of the AU now, to carry the fight for I&I. Since Jamaica, if we are finding out that they have no program outlined to address the repatriation agenda, they have a lot of program suggestions to deal with reparation, but on the matter of repatriation, we already submit a documentation. So both ourselves and the Congress, it is a first draft document that we have compiled together. The Congress document that they had submitted in 2003 is embedded in there as a historical evidence of agitation. So we need to meet now to move forward the agenda finally now, and hopefully draft a final agenda now to address the matter of repatriation, not only for Jamaica, but we're taking it even into extended into Caribbean. So that is basically the outline for the way forward now in addressing this matter of repatriation and reparation for those who decide to return.
All right. Jabi,
we are also looking to put it in front of the United Nations to have an official complaint against these governments. Starting with Jamaica.
Yeah. Jabby?
Blessed love, honor.
Yes, I. Why? The technical problem upon your end. You there hear what?
You know, I so clear because I have a lot of interference which part me there in New York here.
Okay.
So just abide with I man still here.
Yeah.
That's
so
it.
We can hear you a bit, so I want you just interject. You could hear what Prophet Greg has said?
Yeah, me hear it could be I give thanks to Prophet Greg, cause I agitate for repatriation because repatriation is an international program, 4 wings of the earth where, Africans who want to return back home, we well want to go home, and that is Rastafari fundamental of freedom, redemption, international repatriation. We hear a lot of people agitating for all types of repair, yes, but we as Rastafari, and many other groups also are looking to return back home. And like Honorable Prophet Greg said, Ghana is the gateway to Africa, where last year 30, Africans from the diaspora were presented with their right to abode, and there are other, so I think another 200 are seeking their right to remain also in Ghana.
Okay.
So yes, there are a lot of programs going on right now, So we do give thanks for that agitation, Even in our London, we rise up the 1st of August, Emancipation Day, reparation march. We are calling for all Africans, no matter what your religious denomination is or your background. From time you are African, we want you all to come out that day there. Who know into March, take a day of action, because it's also a day of action the 1st of August, and that every black man, woman and child not to go to Babylon workhouse or them institution or spend their money in any establishment beside them one, So it's a day of action, because what would happen if every black man, woman and child in England don't go to work? What would happen to the economics? We don't have to pick up a gun, we have to pick up a knife, we don't have to cuss nobody, just take a day of action. And that would have a great empowerment. We would also see our powers as Africans, Also they will see our power and we will know ourselves, So it's very important that we take a day of action as well as marching, because it go on and on, You see it. So it's really important to all radio station them link up, We have to use all our medium them, so that everyone can find out this information. Because it needs everyone, just like the ants them work together, the bees them work together, the birds them work together. I as Africans must learn from nature and work together. If just one day we ask for, 1 day per year. Because like how we see a whole heap of things that rise up out of what they call the Windrush scandal, or them deal with, ones who did go to England to support England, And England is a disrespect and a deal with black man away, You understand? So therefore, we know if it make them deal with I and I like girl and boy, because so them a deal with I and I, them just disrespect them a disrespect. And the history has proven that worldwide, anywhere them there, them just disrespect black man, We need the decades of society. So I and I must take a stand. I and I can't beat them with gun, you understand? So we have to use our ancient tradition of unity. You understand? We must come to Ubuntu, come together. You understand? And stand as one. Cause one stick easy for broke, But if you have a bunch of sticks, it's hard for broke, And these are the teachings that we have received, and we must live by it, because the ancestors have taught I and I these things. And them teach I and I these things that we can survive. And can pass these things onto the oncoming generation. So we have to really live it. So you see, right now, me there in the United States trying to work with groups, and trying to make them aware of what's going on globally. Because you see, what is going on is sometimes people deal like say them are African American. And we are saying no, there is African born in America, just like I and I is not Jamaican or British or, you understand?
Yeah.
No, I and I is African born in them place, you know? See? So therefore I and I must rise up and stand together as one. Not one black man or woman and child must go to Babylon, walk out that day there. Yeah. You understand? And we must make the North of England, even the most remotest place. Yeah. People must know this. Put it on your Facebook, on your WhatsApp, on your Instagram. And we must learn some new creative ways to get to the youth them, because one thing, the youth them in 2011 in England, them did show some great strategic in mobilizing. You know, when the youth them did uprise, when they call it rioting. But the only thing the youth them never have is an organized plan to what they're doing. But one thing I and I must can learn from them is how to mobilize. So we must use that strategy now to kind of, you understand? Yeah. To make each and everyone know what's going on. So, well, I give thanks to Blessed FM, you know, Blessed Radio FM for allowing this conversation to go on, you know?
Yeah. What I like, over in America, what kind of support the African people them have towards repatriation and reparation in America, especially around New York where you there?
Well, all right, you see, you know, there's a great population of people from the Caribbean, them, you know, and through, you know, a lot of people see that, you know, like the West is their, you know, is their mother, you know. And but then through them I get that fight boy so now, you know, you find say a lot of people them start to get them African consciousness and want to go to Africa, we go visit Africa, we go see how Africa stay. So the awakening is happening. Yeah. Now you find many groups over here they're thinking about like reparation, you know, because a lot of people believe so they can't have a state within a state. So therefore they're looking for money or land within in America, where that you have other groups who said that can't work. Yeah. You understand? Them she said no, you can't. Them cause Marcus Garvey live here, so you know, man. You know, and the teacher of Marcus Garvey is very strong. Yeah. But at the same time now, you know, there's a struggle, and America is very vast in land, even though, you know, and everywhere you see American land, you have people there, right? Yeah. But it can be done, you know. So who no want to go home to Africa, them stay here and get the struggle with them I get from Trump. You understand? But those who want to go home, we have to come together and agitate. And I say, not just as Americans, but as Africans in America, and unify with the brethren them in Europe, in the Caribbean, and let's fight this fight and establish the right to return. Yeah. You know, you have the Salis Muhammad, right? Yeah. He's from the nation of Islam. Yeah. We were at a convention which was held by Malik Zulu Shabazz in Washington D.C. just a few strongs ago, and he came forward and explained his 17 years journey fighting at the United Nations for reparations, and he explained the obstacles which he faced in that, you know. Yeah. And what they want to do is basically have you know, a state within a state. And we say, well, imagine, look upon Tulsa and all them examples of there. This is why, you know, we
keep talking.
We deal with redemption of Africa, because unless Africa is free, black man not gonna be free nowhere in the world. You understand? So what we need to do is be working on the repatriation and reparation in the motherland. You know, so that is the most important thing. But yet there are groups who are rising up. You have young youth that come out of jail, out of prison, you know, and they must say, well, here, who want to go home, who want to go see about this place called Africa, where we read about when them they are jail and them thing, you know. All them need is a little lift up and encouragement, you know. So this is what we got to do, you know, is try to empower them, you know, and make this vision to be a reality, you know, a freedom, redemption, international repatriation for all black men who want to return. You know, so that's how we there right now, you know.
Yes, sir. So we have our next guest coming in the studio in a minute, Asari, who is also a Pan-Africanist, and in going to do a little thing, but I want to stay up on the line little. But in the meantime, the Jamaica thing and the ganja thing is a thing where I crop up enough over here, so some would like to give me a little tech on that. You have some noise going in the background there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Ras McKoy.
Yeah.
And Jabby, you know, say I don't know if even strengthen what Jabby do, for even because touch upon what I just quote something out of the petition that was presented from the Congress from way back in 1991, which really speaks to some part of the confusion that is out here, especially in Jamaica. So if I may, please.
Yeah. All
right. Quoting from page 12, the bottom paragraph, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress unequivocally condemns acts of genocide against the African peoples at home and abroad, and calls for adequate reparation to be made to the children of Mother Africa. If these reparations are not given willingly by the developed capitalist nations of the West, then all necessary legal actions must be taken against them to ensure that adequate compensation is made. Rastafari doctrine dictates repatriation to the blessed shores of Mother Africa. However, this must be done in an orderly fashion and in such a way so as not to disrupt the social order of the African communities. There must be established the necessary infrastructure so that the returning children of the diaspora do not become a burden, but rather an asset to the development of the African nation. For Rastafari, reparation is an essential component of repatriation. Now, you see that last statement there, in Jamaica now, them flip it. They are saying repatriation is an essential component of reparation. So this is how them try to twist the thing and make it look like, say, is a internal matter, as if they say that the first fundamental declaration for any, before you can get a penny, you have to declare yourself an African, because no Jamaican, no American, no Caribbean came into slavery. It was all African. So that is the fundamental switch, where they want to switch to confuse the people, to push the matter upon a reparation, monetary claim. Bless it.
Yes, I. So now would I just like you talk a little about the ganja license and thing in Jamaica.
All right. As you know, that is another ply where come under reparation, because everything them are pushed by reparation. Even Windrush is a reparation talk. So the full aspect of reparation is being distracted all around. But basically the ganja coming in 2015, and I say is the other half of the repatriation thing that government took up. It was April in 2015 rather that they had amended the Dangerous Drug Act to have a decriminalization for ganja, the use of ganja for both medicinal purposes and sacramental purposes. However, the fault line that we see in regards to that law is that they made, although they declared the sacramental rights for Rasta, they addressed the law to adherents and not indigenous rights. Because, as you know, on a ganja, if you deal with sacrament, no colonial church use ganja, none whatsoever. They are saying, so this is an indigenous right for the people who is dealing with that form of spirituality in reconnecting, as how I use the ganja. So rightfully them have to go target I. So because they have made such a vagueness in the law, it is causing a lot of what you call it now, disturbance and unnecessary debates where this thing is concerned. However, another aspect of it, the law, is that there is no avenue for trade in regards to sacramental provision. When alcohol was prohibited by the Volstead Act in America for both medicinal and sacramental purpose, they allowed the wine them to come through. So we have said that sort of equation to ganja should have been on the remit as well. So this adherent thing that them put only to events now. Because even in Jamaica now, you hear some madness that talk about who is Rasta. Yeah, but if you make the law to adherent, you must ask that question. But if you pin the law to the indigenous people, them having a mandatory benefit share mechanism in place, then we'll have something better. The reason why there's a problem also with this ganja industry, because the substance is still, the herb is still illegal. And that illegal part of it is because of a United Nations stipulation. So to America control the federal bank and all them things where correspondent banking is concerned, a lot of pressure is happening in Jamaica where banking is concerned. So even the very industry that has risen up now, banks are very reluctant in getting involved. The other factor, because it is, as I said, illegal, you have to have a regulatory authority to govern this framework. Ganja trade and a medicinal has to operate on a closed loop, because anything outside of the closed loop is going to be deemed an illegal trade. So you can only trade within the framework of the Cannabis License Authority, who is going to give you an authority for the medicinal industry, and that is governed under the Ministry of Industrial Commerce, Agriculture and Fishery. But you have licenses for cultivation, processing, transportation, retail, therapeutic research. The export and the import licenses are still being developed, because obviously one, you cannot import ganja seed because there's a question of intellectual property right where foreign seeds is concerned, and it will close down your industry, like how Colorado came into problem where IP is concerned. So the importation of seed is negative. Exportation is also being scrutinized, because the country who has imported have to give the authority to import before you can export. So those things are being built out based on the countries who are willing to receive products coming out of Jamaica. So it is still being in the process. There are complaints say the licenses is expensive, but that is only a natural, because the substance is illegal and it has to be scrutinized and monitored. Even to the very transportation, you have to have a license for that. So that comes with a natural cause or a cost, because it has to be scrutinized. However, the government introduced an AD program, Alternative Development Program, that the United Nations allow for cultural, religious and other traditional farmers for them survival, because they see that is an avenue where they have earnings both for livelihood and as well as culture.
Yeah.
The problem is Jamaica though. The AD program that them rolling out is 2 pilot projects. They only identify 1 Maroons and 2 a community in Westmoreland, Orange Hill. So Rastafari is not even identified in the pilot AD program, nor is Rastafari representing on the AD program currently. Yeah. And we as the council finally, in 2016 had addressed UNGAS where the AD program is concerned. So these are the real pinning factors where this industry is concerned.
Yes, sir. You can hear me?
Yeah, man, here and there.
Yeah, all right. We have a guest in the studio, yes, sir. Yes. Welcome, Asari St.
Greetings, all. Greetings, one and all.
Yeah, man, blessed love and greetings, beloved.
Blessed love and love, brother Asari.
Greetings.
Yes, sir. So, we are going to talk about a little thing with him, so I want you to stay on the line, and then we'll bring you in later on again. Yeah?
All right, beloved.
All right, one love. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Asari, welcome.
It's good to be here.
Yes, sir. Blessfm, Blessradio, you know, and to the Know Thyself show. So Asari, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Which bit should I start with?
Well, I want you to start with day one, really, you know.
The business side or the more political side?
No, when you're born.
Okay. Well, I grew up in, my parents from Dominica and Barbados.
Yeah.
I was born in Harlesden, northwest London, which I'm very proud of. And, you know, my early development, a big influence on me was the Rasta community in that area. And the kind of nationalist vibe and the kind of Afrocentric kind of vibe. And it's kind of in my late teens, I think I started to, when I started working, it's certain things started to, your certain realizations started to happen. So at 19 I was working at Brent Council, and there's a brother called Mike Lyons, very progressive Rasta, who used to be the community librarian. He was responsible for bringing African books into the school system and into the library system in Brent back in the 1980s. And he was in the Black Workers Group as well. So we formed one of the first Black Workers Group in the UK in Brent Council, when Nalgo was full of a lot of progressives. So we was in Nalgo, the union called Nalgo. And that union, we formed the first Black Workers Group. The union was against it, the government was against it, the council was against it, management was against it, everybody was against it. But we said we're going to go forward. And we started Black Workers Groups back in those days. And Mike Lyons was the person I used to do a lot of work with. And he was like a mentor to me, even though he didn't know that. But to me, he was a mentor because I was a young man at that time. So he had a big influence on my thinking.
So I was at the African Liberation Day celebration the other day in London, which you were a co-host, so to speak. Your organization and the next one put it together. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, I actually got involved 30 years ago as a young man. I was going to different events around things to do with Africa, and somebody told me about African Liberation Day back in 1988. They said, you know, there's African Liberation Day going on in Ladbroke Grove, you should go. So I said, yep, I'm going to go. I went to African Liberation Day, 1988, May 1988. Had a number of speakers there. One of them was the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and a number of the members spoke to me. They were dressed in white, and they said, are you interested in getting involved? And that was kind of the history there. So that's how I've been getting involved. For the last 29 years, we've been organising African Liberation Day. So the African Liberation Day this year was just a continuation of that Pan-Africanist struggle, and it comes out of that whole long struggle for our homeland. And African Liberation Day started with Kwame Nkrumah back in 1958, when Kwame Nkrumah was in power in Ghana, and he met with the then independent African leaders. There was only 8 independent African countries at that time when Ghana was independent in 1958. But Nkrumah for the first time got the African leaders together in one place and said, look, we need to work together and get the other African countries liberated and independent. And he called them the All African People's Conferences. And out of that they said, look, we need to dedicate every year the 15th of the 15th of April to African Freedom Day. And then they did that from 1958, and then in 1963 they formed the OAU, Organization of African Unity, but they did that in Ethiopia, and they met on the 25th of May 1963. So they said, right, because of this day, from this day onwards, we're going to call it African Liberation Day. And they changed the name to African Liberation Day since 1963. And all around the world, Africans have been commemorating that date since then to say we have to liberate our homeland. And that's basically what we commemorated a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And so, is this a thing you do regularly?
Every year.
Every year.
29 years I've been doing it now.
Okay. And always in London?
We in fact 1989 we did it in Birmingham.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time we've always been in London.
Yeah.
But then there's PACM do it regularly in Birmingham as well.
Yeah.
And they've done it in Nottingham and other cities as well as London. And the Pan-African Society Community Forum, we've been doing it with them in London as well for the last 3-4 years or more.
Right. So tell us some more about your Pan-African views and them kind of things.
Yeah. Basically, we're very clear that the Pan-African movement came out of a desire for African people to come together and to form greater social aggregates. We know that all over the world, all countries become empires, you know, they develop their kind of empires and get larger social aggregates. Africa was moving in the same direction. We're moving into bigger and bigger empires in Africa, and we had some very powerful empires in Africa. But then colonialism and slavery came in to disrupt that journey. And then we understand that we're part of that movement of reclaiming that journey. We've been interrupted on our journey of unity. And basically, Pan-Africanism is about the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. Because we want the total liberation of the African continent, but we also realize there's a class element to it, because right now, nearly every African in the world lives in a country where the African leader looks like them. But the situation is still no better than it was. Maybe there's some improvements, but the level of poverty is still a serious problem, corruption, and so on. So we realize that it's not just a question of replacing the European for the African, because we've done that in most parts of the Caribbean, most parts of Africa. We've replaced the Europeans with Africans. But clearly, they're not in our interests, most of them. So therefore, we have realized there's a class question that we have to deal with. And that's why we are committed to socialism, because all the revolutionary Pan-Africanists from the 1950s and the 1960s were socialists. They realized that we have to have an economy that looks like, you know, that represents the people and is redistributing the wealth of the people. And we understand that socialism basically just comes from communalism. Nobody invents socialism. All that Karl Marx and Lenin did is they identified a trend in human history, and they called it a name. But if you look at African societies, we've always had a history of land ownership, in communal ownership. Individuals can't own land in Africa. There was no such concept of somebody owning land in Africa that could sell it and make money on it. It was communally owned by the community and by the chiefs, and land was designated to families and so on. So we want to just go back to that, and we say that it has to be done under the cultural leadership of African people.
Yes, because especially with Zimbabwe and South Africa, that problem they still remain, really, don't?
Absolutely.
Because they said they were fighting for land and equality and them thing there, and them never seem to get bored when them put on them arms.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we need to go back to the old principle and them kind of thing there, in order for us to progress. But for me, perhaps the biggest stumbling block for me was stopping us from unite is them borders what them did put up in a 18 whenever them did put them up under the Berlin Conference.
Yeah.
And we really need to take down them borders there and make us start mingle with one another and know say we don't need to fear one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they are doing to us is that is the same old divide and rule strategy, where you make a border there, so you have to pay, and also them border there, you know, separate how you would call it, clans or tribes.
Yeah,
them would
absolutely.
Them separate all nations of people. For example, you have the Tutsis and all them things. They were stretched from way up at Somalia and come all the way down to Burundi and Rwanda. All them people that get broken up by that used to be them travel ground.
Yeah.
You have like tribes that extend over into other people's country. So some family over there, some family over there. Because the colonialists, they not care about these things. All them want was what them could have grabbed and take. So we really need to break down them borders there and start putting infrastructures. And then I feel that the industriousness of the African people will start to develop once there is opportunity. The reason why China has become the most powerful country in the world is because it have a market of 1.3, almost 1.4 million people. And so India is doing the same thing once them wake up from them little stupid behavior and them begging approach to the world. them now start to become a dominant force in the world economics and them thing, because of the large internal market what them have.
Absolutely.
And this was why the United States was big at one point in time, because it had a large internal market, and it also had a lot of mineral resources.
Yeah, or stolen resources as well.
Well, that yeah, but them say after them one, but we not go into the we just say well make it them tick that way. You understand? Because them tick that way, because them have easy access to natural resources. Them don't have to ship it in from way over. Them more than self-sufficient in oil. Them is a net exporter of oil, because them have oil can last them indefinitely, but them still insist on using oil and that's some great amount. For what reason I don't know. But if we take the same approach as these people, really, because if we go back to our communal way, which everybody in the world used to be in that way, is to come together and work together and develop themselves. But right now, Africa is not doing that to the extent that we feel Africa should have done, because the AU now, or them changed from the Organization of African Unity into the African Union, is still basically a talking shop. And you know, when Kwame Nkrumah go to that same conference that you talk about in Addis Ababa, him talk about that everybody should have lived there with one army and one economy and one currency. And up to today we have moved forward on any of these in any significant way. We have some little trading block and them things, but even then them don't have them own currency, and it's only them own currency that are going to strengthen them and make them rely upon one another, like what the European Union did do. The reason why Britain could have come out and make a Brexit, you know, is because them did have the power. Them couldn't come out if them did have, if them did tie to the euro.
Be more difficult, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Them really
be very difficult, yeah.
If them did tie to the euro.
I agree.
So it's the same way. We need things that will bond us and link us greatly.
But we would say the most important link and bond is that we need organizational unity, but we also need ideological unity. Because it's not every African we want to unify with. There's those Africans who are for right-wing politics, neoliberalism and privatization and what the West stands for, which is the minority, and most of the other Africans want a society that's more like the society we've been talking about. So ideologically, we need to unite with the forces that are willing to go with the direction we're going. And one of the things that Kwame Nkrumah recognized, that when he came out of power, he realized that him trying to unite Africa through the government was a problem, because the government can agree something and then the new government come and change it.
This is why
he says we need to unify at the level of organizations, ideologically, and regardless of the government, we need to unify as a people to make the government do what we want them to do.
This is why I talk about the borders, because the borders will automatically create a situation where government cannot control. The reason why the banking sector in the world actually take over government, you know, in terms of the nation state, no, that almost come redundant. Them only use them to implement what they want to implement. So those people are not really with us, and the reason why those people are not really with us is because we are not finding them safe haven, and the white man has convinced them, the European has convinced them that them have safe haven in Paris, New York and London. You understand? So if them keep up them foolishness over there, so I have to run with them, can find a flat in a Kensington or some suburb or inner city or Paris or Manhattan. You understand? So if them know, so well, then the only place them can run to is within Africa. Them would have more want to develop the thing more and them thing. So these are the teachings that we have to give them, because them now there is no me see other day the Prime Minister of a powerful country like Nigeria them claims are 180 million people, some say more, right? I have to come here so for medical treatment. Oh, him feel.
Well, he should be ashamed.
They know that me I say, oh,
he should be ashamed. But do they feel ashamed? I don't know.
How them feel.
Does
and
he feel embarrassed by
with
having
all
to come here?
African leaders who are quite capable of developing their own health service, that them have to jump on a plane, them could have dead.
Exactly, but no Cuban. If you look at the Cubans, for example, the Cubans don't travel to go for treatment.
No, because
they have one of the best education system in the world. So therefore, we have to look at the ideology of these leaders and saying that we need to take the people first. The people need to come first. So we need to use our resources to have free healthcare for all our people, free education for all our people to the age of university degree. We need to have low-cost housing. We need to do all those things.
You mean including a university?
Including the university, okay, free education. Because one of the things that cripple the people and stop the social mobility of people, and why the rich and the wealthy stay rich and wealthy and powerful, is they put fees on university. So the only way you can get educated and change your class position is putting yourself in a huge debt.
Yeah, but like in a
Jamaica,
I
agree with you in
can't
terms
talk
of the
about Jamaica first hand, right? Because I don't know much about me visit about other countries. But me know say you have a brain drain in a Jamaica. So when those people educate themselves in a Jamaica, the North American market take them up.
Yeah.
You understand? So this is a big problem we have. So it's not just an educational problem we have, because we have a lot of educated people. But
they leave the country,
we are not utilizing them. We're not creating the safe haven and the prosperity that those people think them deserve.
So they don't stay in Jamaica, Why they don't stay in Jamaica? Because they don't feel they got the opportunity.
Because
and the
we don't build an infrastructure in a Jamaica.
Absolutely.
To make them feel so well, then them can drive a Rolls Royce because them feel them deserve that for some reason or the other. But we don't create those opportunity for them. It's like if you have a car, it's a bad mind thing. If you have a big house, it's a bad mind thing. And at the same time, you have these massive house, but the road when them have to go upon is in a terrible and atrocious condition. So this shows the mentality of the people, the rich people, at least the poor man can't do no better, but the rich man, if you ask him to fix
Same in Africa, people live in big houses and as soon as they go on the road, it broke down.
Yeah. You ask a man to fix the road, he must say, boy, it's a security reason. And that's just kind of want to spend on the road,
They just don't want to spend it,
Yeah. But he must spend back everything in his own. So that is a kind of selfishness now. We have to move out of the people. Alright, so I think we'll make your political thing clear now. You're a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me some about the business that you do and so on.
Well, basically, I've spent 25 years in the public sector. I was made redundant in 2011, around 2011, 2012. When the new government came in, they decided to scrap what was then called the Audit Commission. And I was an inspector of council, so I had a lot of experience working with local government. I understood how the structure works. I used to inspect local government and the NHS, and then they made us redundant. And I came across a franchise called Action Coach, a fantastic organisation started by an Australian back in 25 years ago, who's then moved to the United States, and that franchise is in the UK. And I decided to join the franchise back in 2012. So it's about 6 years now, 7 years now, my 7th year. Of basically coaching business owners and training business owners how to improve and develop their businesses, as well as developing my own business. I also do a lot of work around equality and diversity, so I still do work for somebody called the National Centre for Diversity, or I do freelance work for them when I go in and do assessments and reports and advice, training and all that for them. So that's what I do. So I'm trying to do more and more work in our community to educate our people about the importance of getting involved in business, but doing it in the right way, because it's not for everyone, and it's not for the faint-hearted because it's risky. So, but to those who are in business or want to get into business, I can help them do business plans, access to finance, and give them the basic tools to understand how to run a business well.
And so, round about what kind of a fee a potential business owner or someone in a business would I need for a business plan and certain management consultants?
Yeah, I mean, there's something for everyone. I do free seminars, from books from a £10 to group coaching sessions for £100 plus VAT. So there's always something that can reach anybody. You know, to get a business plan, £600, you can get a business plan drafted and get access to finance. People want to do a strategy session. We do whole day strategy session, planning days or planning sessions with me for about £300 plus VAT. So there's always something, whatever the budget of the person is, that can get some way of getting some information to take them to some level where they can start earning some money, or at least planning where they want to go and what they want to do.
Well, I know he's a very versatile brother, and we have Prophet Jabi on the line and Prophet on the line. You still there? Prophet Jabi.
Bless the Lord,
yes.
Yeah, man, we're there.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
You could hear that?
Yeah, we penetrate everything with the man say, you know.
Yes, sir. So
yeah, man, we can be a witness of some of the man work, you know, from ELD, you know.
Yeah.
African Liberation Day, yeah, and you know, at some point, you know, we can't talk freely, you know, because at some of the Rastafari groups in London, they feel a little bit disgruntled when they used to go to ELD, because them used to always talk about Kwame Nkrumah in regarding the forming of the OAU. But them used to always miss out His Imperial Majesty. You don't see pictures of Kwame Asari for. I will show enough respect. But when me go to Ghana, I sit down with the sergeant for Kwame Nkrumah's chief security. And he would sit down and teach me and show me, say, listen here, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Selassie, was the instigator for the whole of the African unity because of the aggression with Mussolini. And they see the need to have African unity from the grassroots up. Because in his speeches he always spoke about how important that the people them cannot just rely upon the government to make changes. So he always spoke about the grassroots and the bottom up, you know. But that was never really mentioned in these African Liberation Days and the work of His Imperial Majesty. And I'm glad to say, you know, that now, even in America here, people are recognizing the work of His Imperial Majesty, and he was the forerunner, the grandfather of African unity and Pan-Africanism. And Asari learned a lot from His Imperial Majesty in regarding African unity. That is why His Imperial Majesty gave the OAU a place where them can reason endlessly in regarding African unity, you know. So we give thanks and know that all these things are coming to light, you know. We should have been there from the forefront. Yeah. So I do give thanks, my lord.
Yes, sir.
Yes, beloved.
Yes, sir.
And for my part, beloved ones, you know, you always hear the proverb that the stone that the builder refuse will always become the head cornerstone, you know. And we see how them trying to eliminate that respectable positioning that Emperor and Ethiopia played the role where African liberation is concerned. Because one simply just have to ask one question, you know. What is the real colors? The Pan-African colors. Pan-African colors is red, black, gold and green, you know, red, gold, green and black, you know. And that was because they patterned those colors in honor of Ethiopia. The African flags that fly, red, gold, and green and black, you know, was because of that. And we'll even throw in Marcus Garvey, red, black, and green into the mix as well. But that is the combination why majority of the flags them flown in Africa now bears the color red, gold, green, and black because of the work, one, of His Imperial Majesty with Ethiopia's liberation, and two, Marcus Garvey in his movement with the UNIA. So anybody can go around that, because trust me, them can't go around that.
Yeah, well, I mean, in support of our diadem, I say, His Imperial Majesty actually hosts the meeting, and it's because of him position as the only country, or the one of only two countries that wasn't that wasn't colonized at the time and not just get independence. Because in a 63, it was 32 countries, of which only about 3 or 4 of them get them thing more than 20 years before. You understand? I think only Egypt, Egypt, Liberia and Ethiopia. You understand? So them, apart from that, no, all of them was colonized and did I get the so-called independence thing. And His Majesty being like someone who had the experience of governing a nation state, invited them, and we're upset that Kwame and Nkrumah actually was the one with the most policy that would have benefit the African people in a shorter space of time, as opposed to the selfishness of the other group. But I can't remember them because them was one was Manova and one was Casablanca. I can't remember which order them either, but the one
you have the Monrovian group and the Casablanca group, them.
Yeah.
That was being formulated. I think that the Monrovian was from Kenyatta. I don't think it's Lumumba. But those were the groups what they were looking to galvanize now was African liberation, and then His Imperial Majesty stepped in and said there's only one group, and it's the African group.
Yeah, they were like two opposing groups really, because one did want the new president and prime minister them and them thing that they'd want exercise them newfound power rather than to unify them power. So the one them, I can't remember the group, but that group there with which Nigeria was like the more prominent one, Never want no one currency and no one army and no one economy and open borders. Them never want that. Them did want exercise the power there, so because them never see themselves as a take over everything. So, and this is the problem that black people, African people in general have, is that them can't give way. Them always want to go through all when the roundabout there. Them always want to run straight through, them don't want to give way. So Asari, what your take on that?
Well, I think it's that we have to look at these things as lessons in history that understand politics isn't straightforward and that it's not unique to Africans. So, whilst we on principle agree that we should get rid of the borders in Africa, you have to deal with the reality of the world the way it is, and that we can spend the rest of our lives fighting all the different African leaders over the borders, or at the same time we can unite on the level we can unite. So one of the things, if you look at people like Nkrumah and Haile Selassie and others, is that the 1963 was a compromise. Now, some people say it was wrong to form the OAU. Now, I would disagree, because I would say that forming the OAU was better than not forming anything. And the danger was that if we didn't do the OAU, I'm not promoting the OAU because I think it's got loads of problems, and the African Union as well. But the point is, it's better than not having anything. And the danger in 1963 is that if they didn't at least agree to come together as an African community, there would be nothing. And therefore there'd be no structure for Africans to communicate with each other or to hold each other to account or anything. At least with the African Union, if you have a coup in an African country, like what happened in Gambia, when the guy in Gambia didn't want to step down, the African Union said, no, you need to go. They didn't force him out, they didn't kill him, but they said, you have to go. You lost the election, we respect that your situation, but you have to leave office. And that is a progress from where we would have been, because otherwise African countries like that, you could have a situation where that guy doesn't refuses to move. And we've had other examples like that on the African continent. I'm not saying they always get it right, but it's an opportunity. And I think that we have to look at politics in the sense of what is realistic and what can be achieved, and keep on pushing towards what you want. Because the danger of having no compromise on the side of the progressives is also, we don't compromise, they don't compromise, and we just end up at war with each other. What we don't want is an internal war in Africa. where we end up fighting each other in Africa for the land. Because if we're in South Africa and we agree we're going to get rid of the border, and the people in Zimbabwe say we'll get rid of the border, but then Namibia and Angola and Mozambique say no, we're not getting rid of the border, what are we going to do? Take war with them? And that's where I think we have to realize
I think
we have to have a pragmatic approach to bring about more and more unity, especially at the level of the people, where the infrastructure and the structures are more united. The government structures, the roads, the infrastructure, the telephone network, the airlines, the people, the institutions are more Pan-African in that structure, to make it very difficult for the leaders to not form a Pan-African structure to everything else.
No, well, let's look at the European Union model. The European Union model started out as a common market between France and and West Germany. You understand? So the fact that Mozambique and Botswana and Zimbabwe
But the point is that we need to recognize that not everybody is on the road, so that's why I'm saying we need to have the unity at the ideological and organizational level. So we effectively bounce the leaderships and bounce the governments into the more African unity, and realize that we're not going to get rid of the borders overnight. It doesn't mean we don't put it on the table, but we know that a lot of these leaders, there's no way they're going to let go of power. They're not going to let go of their power. We have to remove some of these people.
England Prime Minister
have to remove them.
1 minute. England Prime Minister are still England Prime Minister in the European Union. But people can travel from here, so they can just jump on a plane and travel, go.
But they haven't got rid of the borders. But they haven't got rid of the...
Only England one car when me drive through what you call it.
True.
When me drive through, me go to Belgium and we end up take a car and go over Germany.
There's no problem.
And when me a drive, me a look to see a border, you know how me know so me there Germany? The road sign change, you know.
Yeah, otherwise you can just drive straight through.
To asphalt or something right there, because we can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
And that change make me know, say, me left.
There's no border, there's nobody stopping you from driving.
Yeah, but them country, they still have political control over their own property.
Yes,
you
that's
understand?
true. That's
and
true.
them still make them own economical control. And we them have to, them do, them have what you call it, institution where all of them obey the same rules.
Yes. And that's a form of integration that it's not the ideal that we wish to seek, but that would be a long way forward to where we are now.
If we open up the borders,
if we open up the borders, that makes a big difference.
Border, not everybody have to take the same currency. We can't have the currency and make a currency and say, all right, each one start say a strong country like Nigeria and them country there can join together and say, okay, we are going to use this currency. We are going to call it the Afro for argument's sake. Right? And then have some background noise I go understand it come over the ear.
Yeah. Jabby, if you can mute your phone when the night come through.
Yeah.
Alright, bless it.
Yeah. So we can, what you call it, farm these organizations from farm small and make them grow bigger and bigger. Because like me said, the common market start with two countries.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, two countries will just oppose one another.
You agree with who you can agree with first. Yeah, you agree with who you can agree with first.
You understand? Because France, Germany mashed down France.
All of Europe's been at war for the most thousands of years.
Right.
But they still managed to do it.
And within 10 years, them and France.
And no war has happened since.
Yeah. You understand? Not within.
So we can do the same.
In the Union, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's different models of how you can integrate, because America has a model of 52 states and a federal system. So you have one president. That would be the ideal situation to have in Africa, where we have one president and a federal system and a state system amongst the you know, maybe a state system. But if we can't get to that, as you said, the European Union level, we could still be integrated. But the African Union has agreed to unify anyway.
Even if you don't, right? Because the European them have a one army. Them have a one.
Yeah, they have NATO, which is a form of unity, unified command, isn't it?
Exactly. So and each one of them have.
Yeah. Because if you try and overthrow Germany,
Nice.
NATO will come in.
Exactly.
You know, any country trying to
Yeah, we still are here some background. Yes. Prophet. Yes. Bless up. Bless. Right, them have too much background noise, so I don't know what's going on, and them not answer me. Bless up.
Anna.
Yeah, because too much background noise are going on, we can't.
Yeah, me that hope Jabby with a mute him phone, but it look like you not get to it as yet.
Okay. Him can Jabby.
Wow.
Listen.
You can mute your phone.
Yeah, I put it on mute, you know, but I saw New York State, you know, man, because we're there right beside the subway and the fire station, you know.
Okay. No, but if you mute your phone,
but my phone up on mute, fire God.
Yeah, but we'd still out here. Anyway, you not hear the conversation.
Yeah, in light of what was said, I give thanks for the setting. I think the obvious direction is where they're at now, the Continental Free Trade Agreement that Africa is looking to take up. I think they should keep the rotation of the presidency of the African Union, because to have a president 16 right now, that sort of might be down the line. You have to confidence the people first in the economics before you can ingrain the political, because them already miss out with the political by not becoming non-aligned. If they had heeded what the emperor was warning them about when him talk about the non-aligned movement, because him said if we turn to one of the other major power groups, we risk engagement, that gradual process of assimilation that destroys identity and personality. And this is what he had spoken at Belgrade in 1960, addressing the non-aligned and the establishment of the non-aligned movement. So Africa missed out on being non-aligned politically. Hence the reason why they're in that economic state, because they are joining themselves up to this and that one. Now you have, as you rightly said, the EU, you have NAFTA gone into free trade here, even that is doubtful. But Africa have to find them commonality, use what them conceptualize with the continental free trade areas and strengthen Pan-Africanism, because that is where the true Pan-African trade is. But they must also open the avenue for Pan-African trade politically to get the Caribbean and the diaspora to be a part of the Pan-African insertion, to let that avenue come into the development of Africa. And then you can strengthen the political will now to become truly non-aligned and fortify now how you can gradually open the borders politically. But I think the borders, the safest route forward right now is to open the avenues economically. Just says three forces confronted I under slavery and colonialism: political, economic, and spiritual. So those are the holistic ways we have to counter to really rise up Africa as though it once was. Rid yourself of Eurocentric concepts and the old WTO, what you call it, regime of the, what you call it, the World Bank and all them things, which cause even globalization right now. So we have to get right the economic infrastructure first, align ourselves with the non-aligned settings, and then move forward within that structure, Pan-Africanism.
Yes, but Prophet Greg, you can't have the economic structure if people not trading with one another. You have to be
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that is the economic. No. The continental free trade agreement in Africa, which is what them formulating now, is an economic framework. That is why I'm saying I'm agreeing with that, rather than have a political framework first, because there's too much interference. There's not a full operation non-aligned movement in Africa as yet. That is what is causing the same discrepancies and the splintering of Africa not united, because them using outside forces to divide and rule the people them same way.
And the red tape I want to get rid of, you know, because what happens is that African people is not trading with one another. And the reason why they're not trading with one another is because these borders exist, right?
The what exists?
The borders.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If you have a continental free trade agreement, then the borders, that is when we temporarily release and a trading. That is how Europe come to that. Remember, say it's a gradual thing that Europe do, you know. Them start with the trade and then them relinquish the border where people can travel in. But you have to start somewhere, you know. And the fundamental thing that them have to start with is economic, because even inscribed within the trade agreement is intellectual property, which is crucial, because you have to own your assets right now, because a lot of the assets that Africa have now has gone out. Indigenous rights have to come back into play now under this IP. So all of that, why I'm saying now, you have to ingrain your assets, your trading base now, to fortify your political position, because that is economics, you know. That is where your power base lie. No, so if you can start with economics and then gradually move to the non-alignment politically, you know, to strengthen back the foundation of Africa, you have to do it in stages.
No, I still say if the African government, them, who they side by side, open up them borders to one another. For example, if Ghana produce cocoa and if next door neighbor wants some cocoa, he might have to come to London and come buy it. That is absolutely stupidity. That pass imbecile. You understand? Because all you have to do is open up your border and sell your cocoa to the people them in a Burkina Faso or any other one there on the border with you. Because this is how all these countries become strong. You know, even England was a whole heap of joke them, you know. Them corporate and make a king and call it a kingdom, you know. You understand? So if we not going do these things, and we don't have to use war to make a kingdom, we can, or a federation, we can just open up the borders. Once it open up the border, the political, the economy are going to move, and the political will start come, because people are going to see the benefits of it.
Can I add something though? The critical thing about socialism, what I think is important, and I'll mention about the non-aligned. I think there was I got my views about the whole non-aligned thing. I think there's a level of naivety that was existing at that time. Even Nkrumah taking that position, I didn't agree with, because maybe I've got the benefit of hindsight, but I think that I'll give you some examples. Nkrumah said he was non-aligned, but all the books he wrote and the work he was doing was clear he was a socialist, and he was aligned with Cuba, he was aligned with the Chinese, he was aligned with all of them. They all knew that, and they toppled him because of it. Now, if you look at Cuba spent the first 2 years of their liberation, they call it their second revolution, and they never said they were socialists. And Fidel Castro sent Che Guevara to go and meet Nixon, who was the vice president of the United States, and they had a meeting, and they never mentioned socialism once. And as soon as the meeting finished, Nixon told the president of the United States, they're communists, we need to get rid of them. So the point being is, you can pretend to be non-aligned, but the world knows where you stand. You can say, well, we're non-aligned, we don't align with the socialists, we don't align with the capitalists, but what you do in your politics and who you meet with and who you integrate with tells you where your politics are anyway. The Americans know, the CIA know who's for them, who isn't for them.
No,
I'm not saying you should be aligned in the sense that, and those kind of days have gone anyway, the Soviet Union versus America, but what I'm saying is that economics isn't the solution if the ideological clarity isn't there and we're not socialist, because there's lots of wealthy nations in the world that are the poverty is incredible. In America right now, America's level of inequality is as high as South Africa. South Africa has the economy, and the level of poverty in South Africa is horrendous because they're following the same right-wing policies of privatization, no land redistribution, no free healthcare. They're not following a socialist path. So the system in South Africa is capitalistic. So one of the things we don't agree with is that we don't want a united African economy under capitalism, because all it means is that more Africans, a very small number, but more of the elite Africans will be very rich, and the majority of our people will still remain poor. So we want an economic system that liberates the people, where we have land reclamation, and we have an economic system that believes in the redistribution of the world's wealth, not on holding wealth in private hands.
But what you just described a while ago was alignment, wasn't it?
What I'm saying, yes. I'm saying
the South African them is aligned with the American them.
Yeah, they're aligned.
Yeah.
Even if they say you're not. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what you say. Everybody knows who you are anyway.
No, but I'm saying, right, when Nixon go and tell them, Eisenhower said,
Cubans,
they say them are communists, is because the Cubans weren't doing what they were saying, so they make an excuse because America is bully. America come out of World War II, you know, as the dominant figure.
Absolutely.
And the dominant actor on the world stage, you know. It's pure bullyism, them, the school ground bully.
Yeah.
America clear. So if you don't know what America said, him come up with a reason why him should have turned the American people against you, so that him can come rob your things.
But that's because the Cubans were moving down a path where they wanted to control their country.
Yeah.
They wanted to control the oil, they wanted to control different things. They went to America to discuss with them a better deal. And America refused because they don't want them to get a better deal. They refused to give them a better deal. That's when Cuba nationalized they nationalized all those things.
This is what these people do.
Because they wouldn't listen to them.
What them do, right, is they don't want capital flight to left to their country.
No.
Because their system is based on piracy.
That's right.
So as long as you try to interrupt their piracy, they will do what pirates do. They'll start rob and kill you same way.
That's right. Look at Gaddafi.
So if them can't extort you,
they kill Gaddafi.
they will come feel like them do Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein.
They get rid of the people who don't agree with them.
Yeah. And only part like how them kill Kwame and Nkrumah and Lumumba and the brother there, the communist brother there, South Africa. You understand?
Sani. Chris Hani.
Chris Hani, yeah.
Chris Hani was killed as well.
You understand? So them will do these things. And we know so them will do these things, but that can't stop we from unite, because the more we unite, the less them are going to do things to we.
Agree. That makes us stronger. But we have to unite under, as I said, we want to unite under a socialist direction.
We unite and then we can decide what we want to do. That's so me see it, you know.
But unite with who?
Eh?
And with what?
We unite with ourselves. We have to unite with ourselves, not with other people. We unite with ourselves. And then we can decide what kind of policy we want. That's why the thing said non-aligned come. Yeah. So but the time come to an end now, you know. So I'd like to thank you all for participating in the show. So
Ras McKoy.
Yeah.
But I'd like to say something, say, you know.
You have to make it fast.
You know, one thing the Emperor say, you know, he say when African righteous people come together, the whole world will come together. That is our divine destiny, you know.
Yeah. All right.
So the words are the His Imperial Majesty Selassie, you know.
Yeah.
They do give thanks for the moment, for the energy projected and so forth, you know.
Yeah.
And Africa must be free. You know, and you know, if you can remember the 1st of August, every black man, woman, and child, take off your day off. You understand? If you worry about your work, book a day off.
Yeah.
Take a sick, do whatever you have to do. But we must unite for one thing, one day.
All right.
And big up Elder Prophet Kwame, who's been agitating for, you know, for the redemption of our people from ever since, you know. AKA Prophet Weatherman, you know.
All right then, Prophet Greg, say a quick word there before.
Yeah, man, we give thanks because right now the whole thing come down to the political will, you know. Africa can't be feeding so much people with cobalt for technology, diamond, uranium for nuclear, and the people still poor. So you have to have a political will if this unified front have to make work. And as just say, Africa still awaits creation and our creators. So I just say that. Yes. I have to go deal with it.
Yes,
you know?
Bless I. And Asari?
Yes, no, thanks for having us on the show. And as you said, Africa will be free. It's just how quickly we're going to do it.
Yeah.
The more we organize, the quicker it will happen. But destiny is inevitable.
That is a certainty. Is how long we want to make it. How long, short a time or how long a time we want to make it. So thank you all for participating in the program. We have to go now because the next presenter is here. And so we're going to play a track and give thanks to all the listeners out there, and one love.
Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, President Julius Nyerere, President Kwame Nkrumah, President Jomo Kenyatta, and others created the Organization of African Unity, which today is now the African Union. It is incumbent upon all African leaders and all African people that the borders of Africa should be broken down and all Africans should be free to enjoy peace, security, and prosperity. So, therefore, let's break down them borders and let us be free, man. Break down them borders, let us be free. Break down them borders and let us be free, politically and economically. Break down them borders and let us be free, man. Break down them borders and let us be free. Break down them borders and let us be free, politically and economically. Work, work, let us work together. Trade, trade, let us trade together. Trade, trade, let us trade together for health and prosperity. So, break down the borders and let us be free, man. Break down the borders and let us be free. Break down the borders and let us be free, politically and economically.
Blessfm, no cigarette smoking in my room. I still want Marley. Blessfm radio, play good.